Hello everybody, it's me Jack, and I'm back with another review. Today I will be reviewing the all-new Han Solo movie, or as it's known better, Solo, a Star Wars story. And this review does contain spoilers. You've been warned. Not since the 2008 Star Wars The Clone Wars animated movie has the anticipation for a Star Wars movie ever been so low. Not a lot of people were excited for this movie. Part of it had to do with the fact that The Last Jedi was considered by many Star Wars fans to be an absolute insult to the series. Now, I have reviewed The Last Jedi before, and I was pretty positive about it. That being said, watching the film a second and third time, the problems that people have with the movie definitely became more clear to me, and my thoughts on the film have shifted to a more negative feeling. I don't love the film, I don't hate it, I just think it's meh. I will be reviewing it again sometime soon. But anyway, you're not here to hear about that. You're here to hear about Han Solo. I wasn't enormously excited for this movie, but when the first couple of trailers came out, I was intrigued. I didn't go in with high expectations, though. The film follows the adventures of a young Han Solo. We watch as he meets characters like Chewbacca and Lando Calrissian, and of course gets his iconic ship, the Millennium Falcon. And he goes on an adventure with them and a bunch of new characters as well. I could describe this movie in one word. Okay. Yeah, it's okay. It's not great, it's not awful, it's just okay. Now, this movie is infamous for all of its behind-the-scenes problems. Originally, the directors of the Lego movie were hired to direct this film, but during production, Disney felt that they just weren't doing it, and so they fired them and replaced them with Ron Howard. Also, Alden Ehrenreich, who they hired to play Han Solo, was just not doing it for them, and they had to hire an acting coach to help him. This made me a little bit worried, and I can safely say that Alden Ehrenreich is not awful as Han Solo. But he isn't great either. And this is my major issue with the film. There's just nothing about this character that screams Han Solo. He just does not seem like Han Solo at all. He seems like a completely different character altogether. And I get what they're going for here. This is a younger version of Han Solo, so he isn't gonna have all the character traits of the Han Solo that we know and love. But still, there's gotta be something to connect the two of them. And for me, there just wasn't. Han Solo is supposed to be a scoundrel. He's selfish. He's out for himself. He cares about nothing but money. That's how he was in A New Hope. However, his character went on a journey and became a hero. But here, he already is a hero. Now, it's understandable. It really is understandable. You need your main character to be likable. You need your main character to be a good guy. Now, what might have worked with this character is if they had done the arc in reverse. The film starts off with him as a good guy. Maybe a character that's close to him, like Emilia Clarke's character, dies, and that has a huge impact on him, and he almost thinks, what's even the point of doing the right thing anymore? I just gotta survive. And that was the thing about Han Solo. He was a survivor. Yeah, he didn't really care that much about other people at first, but that's just kind of how he felt. It's a cruel world out there. You gotta take care of yourself. You don't have time to take care of others, unless it benefits you in some way. On top of that, they gave him these comedic moments, and they just felt out of character for Han. They just didn't feel consistent with his character. So in no way did this really feel like Han Solo, with the exception of the very end of the movie. There is a great scene that is just classic Han Solo, where he just kills Woody Harrelson's character in cold blood with a blaster. That was Han Solo. And hey, he even shot first. There's probably going to be a special edition in the future where they re-edit it to make Woody Harrelson's character shoot first, isn't there? What about the other characters of this movie? Well, I hate to say this, they don't really do anything for me. At least the new ones. Emilia Clarke's character is pretty forgettable. Woody Harrelson's character is not very interesting, and he ends up being a bad guy in the end, in a twist that is pretty easy to see coming. I mean, early on in the movie, he talks about not trusting anybody. Gee, I wonder if that meant him. Chewbacca is definitely a highlight of this movie. He is a lot of fun in this film. It's great to see Chewbacca really play a role in one of these newer Star Wars movies. In The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens, he's just sort of there. He has a couple funny moments here and there, but for the most part, he's just there for fan service. Here he has a real role, and a character as well. Some of the funniest scenes in the film are just the banter between him and Han. Also, Lando Calrissian in this movie is pretty good. He does feel a little bit more in tune with his character from Empire. This does feel like a young version of Lando. He's got the suaveness down, the smooth talking, and even the humor. And Paul Bettany's character, easily the most boring and forgettable Star Wars villain of all time. And that's saying something. There have been some really boring Star Wars villains, like Tarkin and Krennic, but this guy takes the cake. He's barely in the film long enough to even leave an impression. There's also this droid, and she's fine. She has a couple of funny lines, but she's not in it that much either. She's certainly no K2SO or C-3PO or R2 or BB-8. Now, when it comes to positives with this movie, the action scenes are quite exciting. There's some good action with blasters, as well as some really sweet dogfights. One particular sequence sticks out in which they're chased by TIE fighters through this storm, and are even attacked by a giant octopus. Okay, I must ask though, what is the obsession that Disney's Star Wars has with tentacle creatures? You had the mind-reading octopus in Rogue One, you had the Rathtars in The Force Awakens, and now you got this? Who is it that keeps putting in all these tentacle scenes? Someone at Disney, I guess, has a tentacle fetish or something. There is one scene in this movie, however, that was simply awesome. To be perfectly honest, this film is pretty forgettable with the exception of this one moment. This one moment that stands out like a diamond in the rough. At the end of the movie, it is revealed that Emilia Clarke's character was working for none other than Darth Maul. Oh my god, this moment was just amazing. I did not see it coming at all. Frankly, it was the only thing in the film that really surprised me. Seeing Darth Maul again, even if it was just for 30 seconds, was amazing. You see him in a hologram, but he looks awesome and his voice is great. He's voiced by Sam Witwer, who also voiced him on the Clone Wars TV show. Granted, for people who haven't seen the Clone Wars TV show, they will be rather confused by this moment. But still, it was great seeing him again, and in a lot of ways, I wish the film was about him. And the reason is just because, well, he's far more interesting than any of the characters in this movie. Even Han Solo himself. The music for this movie is pretty forgettable. About half of the score is repeated themes from the original movies. Admittedly, it was awesome hearing these music cues again, but at the same time, it also came off as rather lazy. None of the new Disney Star Wars movies have had memorable pieces of music. At least new memorable pieces of music. But still, it was awesome hearing the asteroid field music again, and the TIE Fighter dogfight music from A New Hope, and even Duel of the Fates when Darth Maul showed up. The film is very good looking, but that's pretty much expected at this point. And yeah, that's about it. This honestly is the most average, forgettable thing to ever come out of Star Wars. Even the prequel movies, as bad as those films got, they were at least memorable in how bad they were. This film just sort of exists. The Last Jedi had a lot of problems, but those problems were just so big that, for me, it made the film very memorable. It made it stand out in the franchise, for all the missed opportunities it had, and some of the stupid storytelling decisions that they made. Nothing about this film is bad. Nothing about this film is great. And for that reason, you're just kind of left with a very average, forgettable, and, I'll be honest, sort of boring movie. Again, not totally boring. There is entertainment value here. There's some good action and some funny humor. But of all the Star Wars movies that were released, I could honestly say that this is the one that left the least of an impression on me. The Star Wars Holiday Special was just so god-awful, but it at least was so awful that it left me with a bad taste. This film left me with no taste at all. Rogue One was somewhat similar, but that film still had some interesting themes and some really great new characters. This one is much more dull. I could see myself watching this film again, but not that much, to be perfectly honest. It is the most average, forgettable Star Wars movie you could ask for. If you do want to see this film, I would just recommend that you wait for it to come out on iTunes. Now, if you're wondering where I would rank the movie amongst the other Star Wars movies, well, in order from best to worst, it goes like this: The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, A New Hope, The Force Awakens, Rogue One, Solo, The Last Jedi, Revenge of the Sith, The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones. I would give Solo, a Star Wars story, a 6 out of 10. So be sure to let me know what your thoughts are on this movie in the comments section below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.